fascinating, isn't it? Because if you didn't know what a mix zone is, it's kind of like the aftermath of a game, isn't it? It's not the press conference, it's the mix zone. The players can talk if they want to and talk if they don't want to. Yeah, that's their prerogative. And we know that this is only the third time that he's actually stopped in a mix zone environment in terms of the English media, perhaps. Was it poor timing ahead of such a big week for them? They had games against Real Madrid, of course, which they go on to win. And, of course, today they've got Manchester City.
Yeah, I've got a sleeping bag in my car, spend most of my life, my second home, a mix zone. And actually, there's some confusion with this interview because the mix zone at St Mary's is in a really strange place. The players, some of them come off straight after the game in their kit to do what we call the flash zone interview for the rights holders. I'm sure everyone at home knows this, but for those who don't, then they get changed and they make their own way to the bus.
So what's a flash? Just explain what a flash
zone is like an instantaneous interview with the managers.
Right.
With the players, usually the man of the match or the goal scorer that you see straight after the final whistle, or by the time it gets on air, 5 or 10 minutes after the final whistle. Then they all get changed. The manager goes to the news conference. The players make their way either to their cars or to the coach. But at St Mary's, unusually, this mix zone is between the exit and the coach.
Right.
So I think initial reports were they'd gone over to speak to supporters, but actually that was the mix zone. All journalists, accredited journalists, have the right to ask questions and players can either answer or not. Now, Liverpool actually are pretty good. I'm not sure Mo Salah only doing 3 mixed zone interviews in the past is quite right.
OK.
He speaks to Egyptian media if they take the time to come over to Premier League games, certainly. And obviously international duty, he's one of the main players. He does a lot there. But, yeah, probably he's not one of the most regular speakers at Liverpool. And I don't think he's done any harm at all. He's got a right to express himself. He's a grown man. And I think it's actually now been a great move for him because the pressure is all on the club and not on him. The fans are wondering, get him signed up. And I think he'll stay, personally. He's got 2 children of school age as well, both born in this country. I think the sticking point is, I don't know if we've got time for a quick quiz, but the sticking point is supposed to be the length of contract. He's going to be only 35 still by the time a 3-year deal, which is what he wants, comes to an end. And there's loads of examples of players who have made a real difference at that age or more than that age. We know about Messi, we know about Ronaldo. I won't ask about those, but Zlatan. How old was Zlatan when he was in the Europa League Team of the Year and in the final 6 of the PFA nominations Player of the Year? When
he was quite old.
He was quite old, wasn't he?
So I'm going to say 34.
He was 35, not far off 36.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Jamie Vardy.
You got the next one.
Jamie Vardy, we saw him again yesterday making a difference. How old is he?
Him.
35.
37.
37.
Wow.
But he's 7 years old.
Wow.
Lewandowski, 22 goals in 20 appearances for Barcelona already this season.
Me first again?
Yeah.
No, I'll go first. I'll take this one. 35.
36. Didier Drogba, when he lifted his Premier League trophy the final time,
I know
back
this.
to Chelsea.
37.
37 years old.
Yeah.
And, of course, Luka Modric, different position, but 39. So these players, if they're good enough and fit enough, and look when he took his shirt off, by the way.
I know,
I think he's a better player now than when he arrived at Liverpool.
I mean, listen, it's a really interesting point because there is a debate that I think could be had, maybe on another week, but a wider debate on whether we should rethink the way we perceive players who are over 40, because players are far better now looking after themselves over 30. Salah in particular lives his life the right way, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, refuels in the right way. His extracurricular activities are you don't find them in the front pages of the newspapers, and he's an exceptional role model in that regard. And I think more and more players are following that kind of approach because they want to prolong their careers. And whereas we've had that perception of players who are over 30, well, they're getting older, they've lost a yard.
That feels like that was yesteryear, doesn't it?
Exactly, and I think so many players, you've just mentioned 4 or 5 of them there, but there are so many players who just shred that to pieces. So, it might well be that if that sticking point is 3 years rather than 2, is that so bad when you've got a player like Salah who can make an effective contribution to a team way into his 30s?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because he's having the best Premier League season so far of his career. If we look at the stats, he's got goal involvements per 90. I think we might be able to see a graphic for this. potentially. And he's... Oh, no, we don't. I'm being reliably told by Seb that we don't. Sorry about that. But he is. Believe me, he is. He's having the best Premier League season of his career so far, which is remarkable, like you say, at his age. So the question is, should Liverpool just give him what he wants? Should they just, I
think they will, won't they?
Bust the bank for him?
It's hard to tell because of, we do this so many times with the contract negotiations, and we have done over the years. Mesut Ozil, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, pretty much any club where a player is performing effectively during these months of the season, we say, oh my goodness, they could leave if they don't get their way. Give them everything. And I think it doesn't make financial sense to do that. There has to be a middle ground, which I would imagine is the reason for this delay, because Liverpool are trying to find that middle ground. But the one important thing about Liverpool, which they've been widely admired for, like all the big clubs, to be fair, they do their contract business quietly.
Yeah.
They do not play it out in the public domain.
Yeah.
They've been superb at that.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to continue to be the case.
Yeah, it's interesting how Arne Slot has dealt with it as well. I'll come to that in a minute. Have you got some papers on this?
I have, because you didn't get the graphic, but I can give you this. This
Go on,
is
thank you.
superb by
My bad.
James Sharp in the Mail on Sunday. And it's why Mo Salah is hitting new heights. The numbers on this are excellent. Since he arrived in 2017-18, he has won for Liverpool 150 points. That's 40 points more than the next best, which is Harry Kane. No player has earned more points with their goals and assists this season than Salah, who was 17. There are all sorts of terrific numbers. I'll just give you a little bit of the intro to this by James Sharp. He says, Mo Salah, at the age of 32 and with his contract expiring, is producing better numbers for Liverpool than he ever has before. That much is clear. The simple maths is as follows. 19 games, 12 goals, 10 assists. Salah is averaging a goal or an assist every 69 minutes.
Gosh.
Even in his devastating debut season at Anfield in 17-18, when he scored a monster 44 goals, he only averaged an improvement every 71 minutes. Salah brought up double figures for both goals and assists after 17 games, from the first player from Europe's top 5 leagues to do so in all competitions, and by far the quickest player to do it for Liverpool in the last 40 years. The previous quickest, Luis Suarez, in 2013-14, who took 23 games.
Gosh.
I want to show you one other as well, if I can. Robbie Fowler, because you asked me about Jamie Carragher. Robbie Fowler's in a far better position, terrific columnist for The Mirror, and he has been saying that he doesn't think Mo Salah was being selfish. In fact, again, I'll just read you a little bit, just because this subject is so important. He says, Mohamed Salah wasn't being selfish when he warned Liverpool that there was more chance of him leaving Liverpool than signing a new contract. I think it was a cry for help. Jamie Carragher was damning of Salah's decision to go public with his side of the story. I can understand where Carragher was coming from, because he's passionate about the club he once served. But my view, Fowler's view, is that Salah felt the need to speak out because he is genuinely worried that he will be moving on from Anfield next year. He's free to talk to interesting clubs in January, and you can be absolutely sure that if there is, that there are, I'll just read that last bit again. You can be absolutely certain that there will be clubs from every one of Europe's top leagues willing to offer him top dollar, despite the fact that he will be 33 by the time next season kicks off. In other words, the inference is he's worried that that could be the case, but he wants to stay and he wants to force the issue.
What's fascinating about this whole situation with Salah, Virgil van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold is that Arne Slot gets asked about it, and Arne Slot seems very relaxed about it. And the words that were used, this probably more out than in, he reversed, didn't he? Because he said, in terms of my lineups, he's definitely more in than out.
Yeah, brilliant.
Have you been impressed by actually how Arne Slot has dealt with that? Because it's been, at every single press conference that he's attended, he's been asked this question.
Yeah, I mean, you do get managers, don't you, who go, look, it's not my department. Why are you asking me? There's people dealing with that. We see them at big clubs as well. Not with him, because he knows that, unlike other countries, they don't wheel out the director of football or the sporting director or the owner on a weekly basis. The manager has to take the questions, rightly or wrongly, they take the questions. And so people aren't going to be happy with just a straight bat of, well, I spoke about that last week, nothing has changed. So, yeah, he uses humour. For me, he's more in than out. And I think he knows that he's going to play a role in this. He definitely will play a role. I don't think he will be very happy at all if Mo Salah wasn't happy with the negotiations. I think Mo Salah just wants to have, an arm put round him, proverbial arm put round him, been shown the love, working hard on this contract. They probably are behind the scenes, and Arne Slot probably knows that. I mean, would Mo Salah get into an all-time Liverpool 11? I think potentially he would.
Yeah, for sure.
Just very quickly, I'll go to Brett, but I think Gary's right. There is a directness at some clubs across the continent that we possibly don't have here in terms of answering difficult questions. And there is that propensity to wheel out the people who do make decisions, to ask questions of them that maybe we don't have in this country, which is why Slot is so comfortable dealing with that kind of thing, because you do get asked that in the other leagues around European football.